You are listening to the Bold Dreams Held Loosely podcast, the go-to podcast for soul-led coaches, leaders, and healers. My name is Taryn Watts, and I am a master certified coach and the founder of the Mind Rebel Academy, an ICF-accredited coaching school where we train and support people to fully express their purpose through world-class coaching skills. Join me and fellow faculty member Michelle Theriault as we dive into the world of coaching and model what it looks like to live deeply examined lives. Inside these episodes, we have raw, honest, very human conversations that are expanding our minds, opening us up to new possibilities, and keeping us steadfastly committed and focused to walking our path towards our deepest yearnings and greatest visions. And our intention is that they do the same for you. Enjoy.
I am so excited you're here with me. For everyone who doesn't know Sanaa, she is one of our Mind Rebel Academy alumnus. I always
get that confused.
Yeah, so
one of those.
She's a certified Mind Rebel coach and many other things. Many of you may have watched the first episode that we had Sanaa on. We were talking about, I forget the title, but we were talking about our relationships with our bodies. And I remember at the time, so first of all, we left that conversation feeling like there is so much more to say. We barely scratched the surface. We both felt a yearning to come back in. And at the time we had that conversation, I think I was in a really, for whatever reason, I was feeling just like generally aligned in relation to my relationship with my body. I almost had the thought like, I'm good now. I have had body stuff before, but I'm good. I feel great. I have a healthy relationship with my body. Yeah, I struggled before, but I'm just doing great. And recently, not even just all of a sudden, but almost like ever since that conversation, slowly but surely, it's almost like my relationship with my body has come to the forefront. And I've almost been sinking deeper and deeper into, I guess, the realization I have so much unresolved stuff in my relationship with my body. It's actually probably the number one thing I think about all day long, every day. And I realized I feel almost like I was being honest in the last conversation we have. Like I really genuinely was being honest. But you know how there's like layers of honesty? You can only be as honest with others as you're being with yourself. And I realized a lot of the like feelings of peace I had with my relationship with my body were really surface level. And it's almost like this spiral I've been going down, and it's the same lessons, dynamics, weird things that I thought I had released, but I just released them on a superficial level. And so I've really been swimming in this place of like, oh my, there's stuff here. And so that brings me to the yearning to connect with you and for us to sink back in and talk about this.
Well, thank you so much for reaching out to me and trusting me again with this deeper conversation and this like next level in our conversation, because you said something that is so spot on. Like you felt like it was so, you were being honest and true, but the reality is this is a journey and it's never ending. And we know this about so many other aspects of our lives, but we forget about this in relation to our body, that the way we feel is going to change. Our bodies are going to change. Everything is cyclical, especially when it comes to our bodies. And when you're ready to take on a deeper level of healing, like that conversation sparked something that said, oh, okay, I'm ready now. And I'm more ready. And what we talk about today is going to probably look different 6 months from now, and so on. And it's going to continue to evolve and change, especially where we are in our lives and our ages too, because we don't quote unquote bounce back the way we used to. And we're used to our bodies coming along with us everywhere we go. And we tend to forget that our needs change, our bodies' needs change.
Yeah.
The focus needs to be different sometimes.
Yeah. The cycles are very true for me. I feel like now when I step back and look at the big picture of my life, I've struggled with my relationship with my body my entire life. I can remember the first really messed up thought I had about my body, and I must have been so young. Like, I'm guessing, I'm just gonna guess 7 years old. I remember this is so weird. I remember sitting on the toilet and I was like, you're sitting on your toilet and your like thighs are spread out. And I remember looking down at my thighs thinking like, oh, it'd be better if I could like slice them thinner. And I kind of like, had my hands kind of like make them the size I wanted. So and throughout my entire life, I think I've gone through cycles of feeling such discomfort or unhappiness in my body that it triggered some sort of action, and probably varying degrees of like there was some healthy aspect to that and also a really unhealthy aspect to that. And I would transform my body and it would end up being like, I like my body now and I must have figured it out. I like my body. I must have figured it out. I'm healed. But then cycle after cycle, I, man, probably like I would say 5 or 6 different times I've gone through really dramatic cycles of having my body not be healthy, not like the way it looked, then gathering up something and bringing it back into health or looking good. But like really dramatic cycles over and over and over again, only to realize, oh my gosh, I'm like in another one of these cycles again. Yeah.
And do you find, I know for me, it's when we're in these cycles, we forget that we've been here before sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
We forget that we've come out of it. And so there's a lot of remembering and there's a lot of making peace all over again. There's a lot of grief and this repetition that even though we've been through it before, we're still hesitant to move and lean into that feeling, that discomfort of it.
Yeah.
Because it's like, how many times are we going to have to do this?
Tell me about the grief.
Okay. It's heavy. Grief in itself has been reserved for death. We think of grief and we think of losing a loved one or somebody passing. But since I've learned grief and learned how to grieve, I find myself grieving so many things regularly. And to evolve at the level that people in this work evolve to and the self-work that we put in, there's a constant shedding. And especially as women, our bodies and our cyclical nature is designed to go through death and rebirth on a monthly basis. Our bodies were made to go through this cycle of fully releasing what is no longer intended to be inside of our body, then going through the cycle of feeling great during ovulation and feeling at peace and feeling happy, to then having to go back into this cocoon and start this whole process all over again. And I've been recently sitting with my body and reflecting with it as it changes so frequently. My body changes day to day. I'm bloated some days. I'm deflated some days. I can eat something one day and I feel great, and I eat the same thing the next day and I don't feel great. And so it is really an hour by hour, day to day change that my body is going through. And a few months ago, without even trying, my body just was shedding some weight. And then the winter came and my body started putting on the weight. And every time I feel like I'm at this place of peace and happiness with my body, it changes again. And it's like, okay, was I only at peace then because I was a certain weight? Can I be at peace here because my body is changing again? And every single time that I've tried to change my body, we've talked about this briefly last time, but every time I try and change my body from the outside in, it's never been out of a place of self-love. It's always been about what my body is going to look like. And then, you go through the cycle of the yo-yo dieting and going through phases of eating healthy and then not eating healthy, and like the way we structure our days and our lives around food and activities around food, and it's all changing. And even when I became a mother, I thought I want to be in the healthiest body because I want my children to feel proud, and I was motivated by that. But it still wasn't about me. It still wasn't about what was best for my body. It was still about a perception of somebody else and something outside of me, even though it's as close as my children or my daughter. And I've been really working in this realm of manifestation. You know, in this world of, if you might be familiar with The Secret or Law of Attraction, or, you know, bringing things into your life, I finally had like a light bulb go off. And like I understood all of these concepts, but it finally feels real to me. And that everything is available to us at all times. And it's like, okay, we hear this and like the option is there, and how do I take it and how do I get it? But I started examining the things that I wanted in my life and my relationship to those things. And when we look at attachment styles in relationships, we've got avoidant, secure, and anxious. And it's like, what have I been avoiding in my life? What do I want? And that has seemed so obvious, but I'm still avoiding it. And the first thing that came to mind was my health. And so I was like, okay, my next challenge now is to work on the health of my body. But can I do that? And if I do that, am I releasing all of the work that I've put into loving my body the way it is now? Does that mean I don't really love my body now? So back to the truth that you were saying, it's like, yeah, you know, we do have everything we talked about in that episode felt so true for us at the time. But here we are 6 months later, or maybe 8 months later, where it's like, well, my truth is changing. So that's where the grief is like, can we keep up with our truths changing and deepening our truths? And what does that mean for what we felt before? And how much of that truth can I bring along with me to this next journey and this next identity that I'm taking on?
Oh, you said like there's like 3 different pathways I want to go down right now because you said so many juicy things. The first is, so you touched on something, and maybe you can like elaborate a little more on like how you see that piece. But one thing you said reminded me of like a new, I guess, truth that's been emerging for me about my body. And I realize an old story that I had. So yes, I think I have also, as probably every human has, you know, you see pictures of, you know, what an attractive, beautiful body should look like. And I have the, you know, the little pressure of, oh, I should look like that. However, an actual, I think, like deeper, more constricting pressure I've had is actually to not put so much focus on my body. Like I think the idea that I should love and value other things more than my physical appearance, I think that has actually constrained me or held me back from loving my body more. Like for some reason, I've had this message that every time I didn't feel comfortable in my body, or every time I looked in the mirror and I was like, oh, this doesn't feel good, I had the belief that I'm wrong for feeling that way or wanting, like every time I felt the desire of, oh, I would actually feel so good if I looked this way. I'd really like to look this way. I thought that was wrong. So for some reason, I made myself wrong for that, because so there's these like you know, these, yes, your body deserves love and acceptance. It's holding you, it's working for you. So no matter what, your body just deserves love and care. But also there's this that's emerging for me of like, but what's actually true is that I do have a preference and I love to feel beautiful. And the truth is I do want my body to look a certain way. And I'm trying to make some more room for that in such a way where it doesn't take away like just general self-love, but I think I want to embrace, I think I really want to embrace, I'm actually really allowed to prioritize what I think makes me look beautiful. I want to feel beautiful. I do. There's certain ways that I look where I'm like, I look at myself in the mirror and I'm like, I'm beautiful. And I want to be allowed to have that too. And I think I've felt wrong or embarrassed to own that for most of my life. And this feels like I want this piece too. And I think there's a link to this allowing myself to notice what feels and looks beautiful on me. I think there's a link to that and like the next iteration of my relationship with my body that I want to have.
Yeah, it's this dance between need and a want, and the conditioning around not wanting things. And does that mean that I don't love my body, or I don't love the way that I look because I want to look a different way? And so far, in my opinion, the need to love your body is necessary. But because from that place of loving your body, and because you make it to that place, you can also want, and you get to want,
Mm.
and you're allowed to want.
Yeah.
We get to put makeup on and pick the color of makeup that we want to wear, and we get to dye our hair, and we get to pick a dress that makes us feel gorgeous. And so these are all high frequency things. Get to do that.
Yeah. It's almost like for me, it's like a similar pattern to other things in my life. I like that I think it's true the way you framed it, where I classified it as a frivolous want before, and now I'm in my era of what if I'm allowed to indulge in things that feel luxurious, or I find like, make me feel beautiful, or beautiful things like, what if I deserve those things that I want? That feels really good to lean into. Really good.
Yeah, and it's increasing our capacity to hold joy. So we don't talk about that enough. We talk about reaching joy, being happy, but how long can we hold on to that feeling? And what is going to help us expand into joy? These frivolous things that you mention, that is increasing our capacity to hold joy and allow ourselves to experience it in a way that we haven't experienced it before, and hold on to it as long as we possibly can.
Yeah. The balance for you between, you know, preserving that like unconditional love for your body versus expanding our capacity for joy and allowing ourselves to desire to like look certain ways, or dress certain way, whatever, have our body certain ways. Is there anything, I guess, yeah, what feels important to you? Like, how do you look at that balance, or how do you feel that balance, or understand that balance?
Right now, I am doing a challenge called the 75 Hard Challenge. And for those who don't know it, it's a mental and physical challenge. And in my opinion, it's very well rounded, but it's been made to seem extreme. Like, so part of the challenge is you have to do 2 45-minute workouts a day, and one of them has to be outdoors.
Ooh.
And you have to read 10 pages a day of a nonfiction book, and drink X amount of water, and take a photo, and no alcohol. And it's like you're adding all these things, and you're like, oh my God, that seems crazy. That seems insane. And I used to look at that way. I used to look at people that did this and think, I'm not that person, and I don't want to be that person. Like, I feel nothing when you talk to me about this. And yet I'm doing this challenge. I'm on day 18 of 75. And I've learned so much already from this challenge. My body was craving movement. And going from nothing to 2 workouts a day can seem extreme. And going from loving your body and accepting it fully to now wanting to change it can also seem extreme. However, I get to do it in a way that works for me. And I get to actively pour so much love and time into my body without having the attachment of what it's going to look like after,
Mm.
or the attachment to a specific weight or a pant size. That's the difference, is like I get to do this and I'm doing something so positive for both mental and physical, my whole well-being, but I can still love myself by not putting the pressure of an outcome.
I um I really love that. That really resonates. My partner, he loves the scale because he has a really, I don't know, he just has a great relationship with his body and he's never, ever, ever struggled with anything. His body responds exactly the way he wants it to, always. So he loves the scale because it always shows him good numbers. Whatever he wants, it's just a tool for him. I've had a horrible relationship with the scale my entire life. And so now that's not like a kind choice for myself. Like I'm just not going to, that tool doesn't empower me right now. I think it would trigger too many old things. But what you said about your body was craving movement, you get to do this. And although you don't know how it's going to transform, like I get the sense from you that like you are inviting some sort of transformation without putting numbers or exact, like you need to be this size or this weight. You're inviting transformation. Can you like tell me more about that being open to this transformation?
I cannot even tell you in the last 18 days how many things have opened up for me and how many opportunities have come my way in this short amount of time, because I decided to act on, I listened to the whisper. I gave my body what it needed. I had to create a whole new identity to be this person in order to do this. It is a non-negotiable. Yesterday it was pouring rain and I had a busy day and I couldn't get out, and it was 7 o'clock and I had to go out to do my outdoor workout, and I did it. And it was a non-negotiable. It was like, this is not even a question. Like, I'm doing it. And like, that to me is the key. That light bulb that went off about manifestation is like, you have to experience yourself being the person that does what it takes to get what you want. And the universe will always respond, always. And all the time that I spent not doing it because I did it wrong, my body was like, no, that's not the way, going through phases of like that freeze state of no fight, no flight. We're just freezing and we're not doing anything more because you've been doing the wrong things for too long. And it's not what we want. Versus then now being able to fully do it every single day. I had to create this new identity. I had to be this new person that prioritizes their health, regardless of what anybody has to say, because I've gotten a lot of comments about it. I don't like challenges. Challenges don't work. Why is it so extreme? I don't want to go for a walk. And like, okay, I've shut off all of the noise because it's not about anything other than me listening to what my body needs. And on a deeper level, when I break it down, the mind and the body have had to endure and change and keep up with everything around me changing. So the first few days I thought would be easy because my mind was like really made that decision that I'm doing this, and the mindset was there, and usually that's the hardest part, is the mindset. But then my physical body had a hard time keeping up with the mental aspect of it, because my mind was saying yes, but my body was saying, but we still need to catch up and hold on. And like my muscles were aching, and that taught me that I can still listen to my body and do my workout, but I don't have to be extreme about it. And I don't have to work the same muscles over and over again every single day until burnout. I can listen to my body and do what my body is telling me to do. And then again, on day 3, it was pouring rain and there was hail. And the first 2 days it was sunny and it was easy to get out and do my workout. And it was so hard for me that day to go out into the rain. And I'm not even halfway through, I had an epiphany. And it was that the weather isn't what's going to stop me from doing this. It's actually evidence that no matter what happens around me, I can still get through anything and I can still do anything and I can still anchor into who I am and who this new person is. And rain, okay, you know?
Yeah.
And so in life, when these things happen around us, it's like we're still going to have the contractions. Life is still going to happen to us, but it doesn't have to change, or we don't have to fall off course, or we don't have to give in to the idea of giving up.
Before you were able to access this energy where you were just ready, what do you think was your biggest internal block that you had to like release or realize wasn't true before you were able to shift into this energy you're in now?
If it's okay with you, I'd like to share something that I wrote that came to
Yeah.
me. I started my challenge on a Monday and it was Saturday night, and this thought popped into my head, and it was, and it's going to sound so ridiculous, but it was, am I scared to be skinny? Is this why my whole life I've been yo-yo dieting and changing, trying to change my body, but never been able to succeed and never been happy with what I've been doing? Is it because I'm scared? And you might wonder, like, why is it scary to be skinny? And like, why would it be scary to look socially acceptable and beautiful? And this is what I wrote. I wrote, am I scared to be skinny? Is this why I've avoided it my whole life? I no longer carry the pain that she carried. And I'm referring to myself in a smaller body and everything that I went through at that time. And so why am I stuck in this loop of gaining weight and losing it and gaining it back? What is stuck in my brain that is holding me back from her? She was struggling on the brink of her darkest days and didn't even know it. She was just trying to keep her head above water. No backbone, no self-worth, desperate for love, not knowing that she was love. She would be the one to pick herself up and fight for her healing, for her right to live a happy life. And so would changing my physical body mean that I am abandoning this incredible woman that I am now? And what about the attention? Am I mentally strong enough to win the war with my ego? That scares me. Before I started this journey of healing, I was just getting through life without actually witnessing it, too consumed by the baggage I was carrying. But now I am my lightest light, my number one. Am I ready to accept that my greatest pains happened to me after I had lost weight and not because I lost weight? And the best chance at expanding my capacity for health is in a healthier body and lifestyle.
Oh, Sanaa, I had like nonstop shivers. Thank you
That
for
wasn't cute.
sharing that. Oh
Thank
my
you for letting me
gosh.
share that. I haven't shared that with anyone. It was just, it's in my notes app on my phone. You know, when the thoughts come in and you just start journaling?
Oh,
Have I
wow.
been scared because twice in my life I lost a big amount of weight, and two really, really big things happened after. And I never related the two until now. And that piece about my ego, we work so hard to get out of the ego. And then what if I start getting attention? Am I going to give in to that? I had to shed that story. And I didn't even know that I had to shed it. It came up right before I started so that I could shed it, so that I can like go.
Oh, wow. We all carry these things and have these funny little rebel mind beliefs and these things we do to keep us safe that we don't even know are happening. And it strikes me as, wow, like how incredible this came to light for you because you can't see what you can't see. What do you think even opened the door to finding this, that this was happening or this fear was inside?
This goes back to like what you were saying about being honest with ourselves, and we believe to be honest to the capacity that we could be at the time, right? And so there are things that we don't even know are there because we can only be so honest. And I think it was ready. And I think that, you know, when I said the universe opened up so much for me, it really is like, it feels like a switch. Like as soon as I declared and believed that I am this new identity, it was like, okay, you're ready now.
Mm.
Here. Now what are you going to do with this?
What did it feel like to, so it's one thing to declare, and which is amazing, and so like it's brave to declare a new desire, a new vision, a new identity, and then the universe opens up and it gives you, you know, this opportunity to look at something, heal something, but you still at every step of the way still have to choose to meet this, you know, walk through the new door that's opening, or shine a light on the thing that's being presented. What did it, or even does it feel like to meet these parts of you that were in the shadows? Like, what does that take? Because I think that's still hard.
It's going to look different for everyone, but you better believe I took this to a coaching session. I was like, I've got this. Now what do I do with this?
Yeah.
And through coaching, it ended up being a journey into the inner child. And it took me back to a moment of, it was like the 8th grade. And it was something that I remembered, but I didn't know how much it affected me until now, because this is what came up. And so it wasn't even about, it's, you know, as we peel back the layers of the onion, you find the root cause, and it's not always what it seemed to be. Even though this is such a big topic, the root of the topic through my journey back into my inner child was this moment of being at the school dance, and a boy coming up to me and my friend and deciding who he wanted to dance with, and he ended up picking my friend. And I felt like I was not worthy of getting chosen. And it became a theme in my love life. And it became this belief that, you know, I'm not going to be the one that gets chosen, but I really want to get chosen. And so pick me and like choose me. And I'm right here, and I'm going to be whoever you need me to be to get chosen. And I literally went back to her and I danced with her to the same song. I remember the song and everything, and I remember what I was wearing, and I was just dancing by myself at that dance, saying like, I get to pick me. It's not up to you to pick. I'm not even available for you to pick. I get to pick me. And so we get this awareness. And so often I've had all of the, like, I'm a very self-aware person, but I felt stuck for a while, like, what do I do with this awareness? Like, I've got it, and, you know, this has come up for me, but what do I do with it? And we get to rewrite our stories. So I think it's not enough to have the awareness. It's like, what are we going to do about it? And we get to fully rewrite the story.
You said you created a new identity. Can you tell me like what this new identity, this new story, like, can you share what like, yeah, I would just love to hear.
I mean, on so many levels, I'm still me. I'm still the good parts of me, and I'm still human. So there's still going to be things that come up that need to be looked at, but I'm prioritizing my health from a place that I never have before. And it's from a place of devotion and discernment. And I re-examined my values recently, and when because we're evolving so much, we constantly, you know, have new values and shed old values, and I was examining my values. And when I looked at a value that I didn't hold but wanted to hold, I looked at the word discipline, and I was like, oh no, this goes against everything that I've been working on. Discipline is just not it for me. But what if devotion was? What if I could devote and be devoted to myself? And so devotion is really present here. And taking it back to this challenge, all this extra time that I'm spending on myself, 2 workouts, the water, the reading, it's all just a devotion to myself. It's hours a day extra I'm adding to my list as a mother of 3, a wife, daughter-in-law, daughter, friend. I'm taking 3-4 hours out of my day now just for me. And it's not like a spa once a month. It's a daily activity and it's a daily practice. And with discernment, like I get to want that.
Oh, you have me all like energized in my seat from this. I can't tell you how much I resonate to the way you describe both devotion and discipline. I like same. And I love the word devotion. I've been holding the word devotion close for a while, and it's been easier to apply devotion to some areas of my life. And it's funny, my body is the last place I actually brought devotion. And what devotion, the first act of real devotion that I started doing for my body, it wasn't even like exercise or like eating a certain way, or it really wasn't anything. It was actually just the simple act of holding space just for my body. I've gotten good, really good at holding space for myself in terms of like my heart, my just like my overall self, my, discerning like emotions. But when it came down just my body for my body's sake, not just my body to talk about like, how I felt about how I want to go in vocation or my relationship, but just my body, I found it so challenging to just listen to my body for my body's sake. And the first thing I started doing was just like a really hard thing to do was actually to be present with what was uncomfortable in my body, not an emotion, just uncomfortable in my body. And like my stomach just felt uncomfortable. And it was weirdly scary to even just be with that. I don't know why, but like really weirdly scary to just be with that. And so my intention was, I'm just going to spend time with my stomach, put my hands on my stomach, ask my stomach what's going on. And holy shit, there was a lot going on in my poor stomach. And even just like, it had so many messages like, I feel like I have to hold so much. And, there's like so much relation to me being like, I've got to like hold, whatever, like suck it in or hold, like tighten my muscles or whatever. But my stomach kept saying like, I don't want to hold so much. And I would just sit there with my hands on my stomach, probably like twice a day. Like sometimes it would be in the shower, sometimes it'd be in bed at night, and just my hands on my stomach saying like, what do you need? What are you holding? How can I help you let it go? And I think I'm still actually in that process. But when you mentioned grief earlier, I don't know if it's just grief, but I think my stomach has been energetically and literally holding on to grief, maybe some other fears, just like clenching against them, And what's really interesting is like, it's really fascinating how different. So, in touching the energy of devotion and listening to my stomach say, I don't want to hold on. Like, I want to be like lighter and free. Like, I don't want to hold on to so much. It's letting me lean into an exploration of how I can like literally like release some of the weight. But from the energy of devotion, it feels so different than the energy of, I don't like how my stomach looks. Like, how do I like starve it to get rid of it? I'm so glad that gets to be true, that like not only like loving my body, but being in devotion to my body. I'm so glad that means I also will, how do I say this in like the truest way? I get to look a way that I also find more beautiful, like, like feel the physical. I get to see a body. Like if I'm standing naked in the mirror, I love looking in the mirror and getting to enjoy physical beauty. I like that. I love that. I want that. And so I'm so glad that like it just seems so lovely, that those two things can be true. Deep devotion to my body and the beauty that I desire.
And the energy is so different. It's so completely different when it's from a place of devotion or a place of should, shame, lack. And I think that's what's been different for me. I do want to say though that every single point that you have made is so relatable. I think to so many people, relationship with the scale, ignoring the needs of our body, learning how to feel emotion in our body, but still neglecting what the body wants.
What are you noticing that your body wants as you're on this new, like even through this challenge? Your body is speaking to you, you're listening. Like, what does your body want? What is it telling you?
Right now it's feeling so much lighter and happier, and as something is coming up, like a specific pain, I'm looking at it, I'm noticing it, I'm not ignoring it anymore. Before I was doing this, like I had a pain in my knee that I expected to just like go away on its own. I just was like, it's there now. Like it'll go away. Well, why like our bodies are constantly telling us things. Like why was I in denial that my knee was having a hard time carrying my body? And it was this fear of like back to the does this mean that I don't love my body? When in reality, the only way is to be devoted to it. And like as it's telling me things, like that's what love is. Listening, paying attention, responding. So was I being truthful when we had that first conversation? Absolutely I was. I was honest and true to where I was at. And I didn't want to believe that I had to change anything because I didn't want it to be forced. I didn't want to believe that like I needed to take action.
Mm.
But for me, it really was the action. It was okay. I think you've done the work, you've laid the foundation. Now you can do something about it.
Are there any kind of themes you're noticing, like when different parts of your body is speaking to you, like your knee or whatever else you feel? Like, are there themes emerging? Like, are you learning things about yourself that, like,
Yeah, what's really coming clear is that the only way through something really difficult is to go through it.
Mm.
And I had this pain in my shoulder as well, and it could be stress, it could be the way I was sleeping, it could be so many things. But it was causing headaches and it was like shooting up the back of my neck. And I've been going to the chiropractor and he has been like working it out. And it is so incredibly painful to have the muscle that is knotted up be unknotted, be poked at, be pushed around. It is so painful. But then that is the only thing that is going to give me that release and to get rid of the pain. So what's more painful, managing it and just like letting it take over and causing long-term damage and pain because I don't want that temporary deep pain? Or do I really want to get in there to clear it all out? And because it's going to be painful, but then it'll get better.
feels like it connects to like the bigger theme of protection and not wanting to feel pain,
Like so many life lessons are coming through in just a short amount of time through this. And I think everything is what we make it to. Some people can look at this as just a physical thing and like they're transforming their body physically, but I'm learning so much. And that's where I think the devotion piece comes in. It's like the time, the energy, the love into being this new person. And what does this new person do? It's like this person cares for me a lot.
You said that, it's not just things about your body that are opening up or transforming because of this. It's like your life is opening up. What else is happening in your life because of this shift?
I relate it to the shift. It may not be obvious, but opportunities with money and booking clients in my coaching business, being offered a job, money coming through. Like it is flowing.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Well, yay.
Yay. It's my relationship in my marriage. Like it's my capacity to receive has shifted.
Can you tell me more about why you think that is?
So I was in this, I think you know Diana Skander.
Yeah.
She's a relationship coach.
She's wonderful.
She's so wonderful, so knowledgeable, and just I learned so much from her. And she did this like mini course on called the Power Couple, on the dynamic between the masculine and the feminine energy within us. And I was operating from my masculine for a really long time in my career, and getting burnt out, and going against the grain of how I was designed. And then I leaned really far into my feminine. I want to do nothing. And I can admit it. I was really, really in the feminine. And there was another imbalance. And I didn't know how to marry the two. And she said something, and it was that the feminine looks to the masculine for how the masculine is going to show up for her. But the masculine looks to the feminine to see how she's going to show up for herself.
Mm.
And that right there was like, I know just off the top of my head right now in this instant, all the different ways that I haven't been showing up for myself that I could, without even doing any digging. Like, this is just like at the surface. Like, there's still so much more, but there's so many ways that I can show up for myself that I haven't been showing up. And that's what changed everything in the last few weeks. It's just me choosing to show up for myself.
How do you show up for yourself? Like, can you describe what showing up for yourself looks like without taking on a masculine energy? Do you know what I mean?
I think so. The masculine is like do, and go, and get it. That's where I said the capacity to receive has shifted, because that's the feminine. And my capacity for support around me has changed. And I used to believe that I was a person that would be able to ask for help. Okay. I was like, yeah, if I needed the help, then I would ask for the help. But the same person also believed that she had to do so many things, right? Like, I believed that I had to do all of the cleaning, all of the cooking, all of the tending after the children, and the work and everything. But if I needed help, I could ask for help, but I still believed I had to do it. And so now I can do things that I need to do for myself without having to do every single thing that day. And in order to do that, I have to be comfortable with receiving support, because the reality is I do have a family.
Yeah.
I am going to need my husband to drive the kids to school some days. Or I am going to need to step out of the house and say, I am going to do my workout. Even if it's a time that's not convenient. If I could have done it during the day while they were at school, it would be a lot more helpful. But some days it just doesn't work out that day. And today is one of those days. So being able to receive is the feminine, while I still can do in my masculine.
I really like that. So showing up for yourself, a big piece of that is almost like being a stand for your own worth.
I like that.
The distinction between masculine and feminine energy and being a stand for yourself, I think, is so powerful, because being and I know everyone has different balances of masculine and feminine energy. They're both needed in different moments. I'll just speak for myself. Like, being a stand for myself from like a masculine energy looks so different than being a stand for myself in a feminine energy, you know? And sometimes I'm torn between really wanting something and to show up for something, but also the reality is that, like, I'm so tired, and a lot of times it feels like being a stand for something or moving towards something or claiming something, it seems like it might require, I guess I'm afraid it will require more energy, more doing, more something. And I find it really powerful to remember that, yep, there's some doing, and I can honor my capacity. I can honor my body's need for rest. I can honor my desire to receive. I can, I find that really powerful and really beautiful and really reassuring that that can be true. Being a stand for yourself can feel more like relief than hard work. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And it can happen in the same day. Like, I've had days where my body is tired, and of course it's tired because look at everything that I've been doing. And so there have been days where I've still had to do my 2 workouts, been tired, moved slower, and even taken a nap
Mm.
or gone to bed earlier or slept in a little bit more. Like, both can exist, and it doesn't have to be one or the other, and it doesn't have to look a specific way. And I think if, like, something hard that I had to sit with was after my muscles were hurting so much the first week, I did 5 days of yoga as my workout, and, like, that can be a workout, and it's
Mm.
allowed. And in the first few days, it was really needed. The last 2 days, I was like, "Oh, I don't know, something doesn't feel right, like, should I really be doing yoga as a workout?" And it's not that it wasn't right or if it's a matter of should or is this I'm not accountable to anybody but myself. So it doesn't matter what it looks like on the outside. I'm still doing it. However, my intention with this was to increase my capacity. And the honest truth here is that on some days, I didn't reach my full potential.
Mm.
But some days that's exactly what I needed. And so I'm still trying to figure that out. And without judging myself through it, I'm getting to learn so much more about what works and what doesn't work. And if something didn't work today, it's okay because tomorrow I get to try something different
Yeah.
without giving up.
So Taryn and I were having this conversation the other day about there was a word I didn't like. Oh, patience. I don't like the word patience. Does not resonate. Do not like it. However, there's kind of in the same energy as discipline. It's like I don't like discipline. I don't like patience. However, they point to something that is so powerful. And um my word that I came up with instead of patience to anchor into something I really wanted was stubbornness. I was like, I didn't want to be patient to wait for the thing that I wanted, but I am so willing to be stubborn and not give up on like I'm willing to be stubborn, a stubborn stand for the vision I want. I'm willing to be to stubbornly not compromise for anything less than what I want. I'm wondering if you have, like, even though you don't like discipline, what you're describing is like a powerful energy. Like, what is that word? Like, what do you call it?
That's the devotion for me is this is
Mm.
devoted. But it's interesting that you say that about the words because I'm like that too. I didn't like discipline. I leaned into devotion. I'm a Taurus. I'm very much a Taurus. And everyone's like, oh, Tauruses are stubborn because you had just said that word too.
Mhm.
And I'm like, oh, we're determined. And
Oh,
so
yeah.
I have these words too that don't feel right for me and can kind of seem negative, but there's a flip side to it. And so that's the challenge here too is like if words are coming up for you or for anyone listening, what's a different perspective that you can have but with the same result?
Mm. Determined. I like that.
Determined.
Determined. Yeah.
And for you, when you were saying patience, I thought, well, could it be trust?
I like,
Trust that it's going to come.
yeah, I do like trust. Yeah. I love trust. And I also love determined and stubborn because that's what I can anchor into. Like, you know, when you were describing, like sometimes my muscles are sore or like it's raining out and you have to make the hard choice to do something anyway. It's powerful to have that like gritty word. Like, you know, I'm so tired, but I have this work in front of me. What am I going to anchor into? Stubbornness that like I'm going to get there, you know, determination. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, that's really what it feels like. And it's become a non-negotiable.
You mentioned starting to share, just vaguely mentioned like sharing and people's objections coming your way. What have you found is the biggest resistance around you to you stepping into this new version of you and these like new intentions and this new devotion?
I can't do that. It's not for me. And the conversation I've been having with my children lately is that if you believe that you can't do it, then you can't.
Mm.
But if you believe that you want to, believe that you can get through anything that you've gotten through up until this point, you can absolutely do anything that you want to do. And I feel like this whole conversation has been a lot about my challenge, which wasn't the initial intention, but just to say that I've learned so much about life in such a short amount of time, and I'm getting to experience myself going through all the challenges that have been coming my way and still persevering, and tying that back to the identity. It's like you can do anything that you want to do.
Yeah.
You can be anyone that you want to be. There's discernment there in what you want. And I've also motivated people along the way unintentionally because of it being a non-negotiable for me. A lot of times I'll drop my son off at soccer practice and I go for my walks. And then last week, 5 moms joined me for my walk.
Oh.
They just said, we're coming along. And I was like, come on over. And we went for our walk together. And so there's going to be, and there was someone that said, no, I don't want to. I'm going to walk later, and that's totally fine. And that's okay. They get to choose that, and they don't need to do that. But there are going to be the people that are saying, wow, I want to know more about what you're doing, and I want to know what I'm capable of doing. And now I'm curious about like what this is going to bring for me. Can I join? I'm like, absolutely.
You know what I find so cool is that I had no idea. I had no idea you were having these realizations. I had no idea you had, any perspective shift from our last conversation. I just knew that this was coming up for me. And I just knew that, wow, the last time I spoke about this, like, that's not where I am. This isn't true anymore,
Yeah, we didn't even talk about this before.
No.
At all.
No. And I'm feeling some like really similar parallels about, the energy we're tapping into. Is there anything else that you would like to share about what's changed for you, or what you're realizing, or what's opened up?
I'm only 18 days in. So I've on one hand, I'm like, I'm 18 days in. I've done 18 days out of 75. And then on the other hand, I'm like, I'm only 18 days in, and there's going to be a lot more to come, and things are going to change, and I'm going to continue to evolve. If you ask me in 100 days from now, I might be in a different place. I might finish the challenge and then not get back to it, or like just completely change everything. But it really doesn't feel that way for me. There has been so much evidence provided to me in the last 18 days of my resilience, of my ability, my capacity. I feel like a different person. I am a different person. And again, my fear was that, does it mean that I don't love myself anymore because now I'm trying to change things? But what feels really true for me is that it feels like I love myself so much more. My capacity to hold that love for myself has expanded so much. And I'm choosing to remain unattached to what I'm going to look like, and that's helping me a lot.
How about this? So, I don't know, most of my friends, most of the women I'm close with don't have the same struggles, but most of the women I'm close with, our conversations now and again enter into this realm of like how we're struggling with our bodies. And I know I'm going to be in internal exploration and conversation with myself about this. I know the vast majority of women I know will continue to be in conversation about this, and our conversations, internal and external. I think it's beautiful to give ourselves permission to allow those things to evolve, and to be open about it. So how about in like, I don't know, 100 days, 200 days, 300 days, let's make this a regular thing and check back in, because I could sure use it. And I think the more spaces we create to talk about this, the better. I don't think I've had enough yet so far in my life, and this feels so good. This feels so good and so aligning. So I would love to do this again and again.
I would absolutely love that. It feels so good to think about. Even after our last conversation was so different. And even then we were like, we're just scratching the surface. Look how much surface we've scratched since then.
Yeah.
So imagine in 100 days from now, like, let's not make it 200. Let's make it sooner than that. Like, I want to keep having this conversation. And my belief is that it's relatable to everybody. And sometimes we forget that people have their own struggles with their own body because they're not talking about it, and we're not talking about it. And even if they're not ready to talk about it, if the right person can just listen and know that they're not alone, like that in itself is enough. And I want to ask you, after this conversation, like, what's true for you now?
You know, a lot of this conversation, a lot of hearing some similar themes, but from your perspective, you know, your experience, are sort of like really confirming for me. I should keep going along these lines. They're very confirming. But I think, you know, what actually stands out the most is this freedom to continue to change my perspective and what I think I know about my body. That's been a trap for me many, many, many times. Like in many iterations, I feel like I find a certain formula and then I have to keep that formula in terms of my perspective on what is healthy eating, what is healthy exercise. And I develop a lot of resistance to changing that, especially if it's worked before. I get really stuck in a certain ideology sometimes, especially around this is what's healthy to eat. This is what's healthy to exercise. Oh man, to have the freedom to evolve is so powerful. And I don't know why. I have to think more about that. I don't know why this is an area where my brain has like latched on with such rigidity to certain rules, but it has. And I think that is one of the most powerful things. So like even what I think I know now, it's a reminder, okay, like even hold that loosely, right? Like this is what's working. I'm in experimentation about it, but don't be scared if, you know, in 100 days when we come back, if I actually say, actually, you know, something else is true. I think that is incredibly powerful.
Yeah, I really, really like that. Our belief systems become such a big part of our personalities. Learning that I now know enough to know that I know nothing at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
Sanaa, thank you.
thank you so much. Honestly, thank you so much for holding this space for me and allowing me to have this conversation.
Thank you. For real, I mean it. Let's
Yeah,
keep
let's
doing
check
this.
100 days from now. We'll figure it out.
Okay, I love it. Okay, Sanaa, thank you.
Thank you so much for being part of this conversation. If you are drawn to the MRA, it's more than likely that you are the go-to person for your people. You are here to deeply impact the lives of those you love and serve. And the MRA's mission is to support you in your life's work. To learn more about our suite of trainings, including our renowned flagship coach training, leadership trainings, and continuing coach education programs, please visit our website at www.themindrebel.com.